Oh, I have so much more shit to show you.
Hello, shitheads! Welcome to another episode of Show Us Your Shit. Very excited about tonight's guest because I failed to have someone agree to do it. I had a few people saying they were maybe going to do it, and I was laying in bed and I was thinking, as I was putting my kids down, I was thinking, okay, who are the most interesting people I know? Just have a think of the people who every time you talk to them, they just blow your mind with interesting information and life experiences. And I thought of Daniel. One of the first people that came to mind immediately was Daniel. Daniel Taylor is the No Such Thing as a Fish tour manager, a guy who's been on the road with many comedians, many musicians. And if you've ever been on tour with someone who does that for a living, you know that you're sitting with someone who's got life experience and can talk the most extraordinary stories. And this is one of those guys. I love this guy so much, and I'm so glad that he was up for saying yes. Doubly so incredible that he said yes, because he and his wife have just had their second child about 10 days ago, which is so it's amazing that he's up for doing this tonight, and I really appreciate it. So I'll bring him in a second. Before I do, just to say that I did another Instagram live earlier today with Deborah, who was on the show a few nights ago, Deborah of The Guilty Feminist. And she has a new Instagram thing that she does nightly, 5 days a week, which is her called doing a thing called The Guilty Feminist, The New Normal, chatting to people just about how they're coping in the lockdown and what they think is going to happen post-lockdown and so on. Some of you were there, which was very cool, a bit confusing for her friends who tune in when everyone was saying, hey, shitheads. And I didn't even explain it. I just saw it and let that sit there. So hope you didn't get any grief for that. So so let's get on with the show. I am very excited to have him here. So please welcome to our show the wonderful Daniel Taylor. For him to load in. Daniel Taylor is with us tonight, and tour manager extraordinaire, and No Such Thing as a Fish is UK and European tour manager as well. He saw us on the last couple of big tours that we did. Hey, buddy.
Hey, all right. Sorry about that. I had some microphone access problems trying to solve some issues.
No. Hey, that's what you do best. That's your. I wouldn't expect it. Yeah, and of course it's working. Amazing. Just for anyone who's just joining, I'll just quickly reintroduce the show here, Daniel. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Show Us Your Shit, brackets, or some Shakespeare, a pair of pajamas, and a mutton chop. And I'll explain that to you at the end, Daniel, what that means. This is a show where every night I speak to someone interesting and ask them to show us all of the interesting things that they've collected over their lifetime. And tonight we are talking to the wonderful tour manager of not only hundreds of comedians in the UK, but No Such Thing as a Fish as well, Daniel Taylor.
At least three. Hello, everybody.
At least three. Okay, let's start with your first item. What do you got to show us?
All right, the first item, I like to call it my mugger knife. And by saying it's my mugger knife, it's a knife that I bought off a guy that was trying to mug me while walking through an unsavory area of Cardiff. You may not tell by my accent, but I do live in Cardiff, actually Abertridwr now. I'm clearly from the States, but came here about 7 years ago. And I was walking a late night path underneath the Gabalfa interchange, which is not that savory. And I was admittedly pretty drunk when it happened, but I was walking and I heard these steps behind me, these footsteps, and I knew this is not good. About 3 a.m, nobody else is there. I'm going under an underpass. This is not going to end well. And then I hear, and I'll see if you can hear it. So listen, I hear this behind me. I don't know if it was audible.
Yeah,
but
I heard like a click. That sounded more like a flashlight being turned on.
Yeah, it wasn't that. So I turned around and there's a guy holding this, kind of like that.
Whoa!
And I turned around and got as American as I could and say, what? Can I help you? And he looked at me.
I completely thought something else was going to come out of your mouth then, like, who the fuck are you?
No, it's just.
Instead, you were just really polite.
Well, I mean, I knew that why, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out in style, and I'm going to be polite.
Yeah.
So he having the knife, he's looking at me. I look at him. He goes, do you want to buy a knife? And I said, how much? He said, 20. I said, let me see it. So he's sitting there with this knife, kind of like this, and goes, okay. And he hands me the knife. So he gives me the knife. I took it. I look at it. I investigate it. I close it up and say, nah, 20 is too much, and handed it back to him.
No.
And he goes like this. And I said, I'll give you a 5 for it. And he goes, deal. So I bought this here knife from a mugger for £5. It's probably been involved in crimes. It's very sharp, but it is in fact my my mugger knife.
What?
And,
so hang on.
I use it at work. It goes on all the fish tours. This knife is with me.
You're
It's
kidding.
in my toolbox, but I do have the mugger knife with me, with the exception of the European tour, because I didn't want to get pulled aside in customs at, say, like a train station or something.
Yeah.
A knife with me.
What? Hang on. So, just so I get the story correct here, he's behind you with a knife.
Yes.
But you got the impression he was going to mug you, but the way you responded stopped him from doing that?
I think so. I mean, I heard the knife open. I heard that open. I turned around, and there was a guy holding a knife,
Yeah.
2 meters from me. Clearly, something was going to happen. And I think that I didn't want to get violent. It was just more of the, let me approach him and show that I'm not going to back down. I was shitting myself when a guy in a country I've only been in for about 6 months. I'm about to be stabbed underneath a bridge. Oh, this is going to be the end of it. But no, he then when he handed me the knife, I'm like, I actually have the advantage in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, he's given away the weapon.
I think I've thrown him off guard through his plans, and so I decided I'll just give it back to him and see what happens, and that's why I did the price
which is
deal.
even more. Like, if I was the mugger and I just handed the knife, I'd be holding a poker face, going, "I can't believe I just gave him the fucking knife." And then when you hand it back to me, that's doubly scary. That's like, holy shit. This guy's come to a knife fight, got given a knife, and given it back. Like, what's he going to do to me? This guy's going to rip my head off.
Yeah, that was my plan. And it worked, and now I have a very, very, very nice knife. I believe it is it's a Smith & Wesson knife.
That's a good knife.
So,
that's a great brand, right?
Yeah, well, they make good guns, apparently. So...
Yeah. I have a theory immediately about what you might have done in that situation, because I experienced this one time when I almost got into a fight in Camden, which is the sentence you said to him was so out of the ordinary that you diffused. So Darren Brown has this thing where he says that if you say sentences when someone's in conflict with you that are completely separate, talking about something else, it confuses them because the pattern is not the pattern they're expecting of a thing. And when I was about 23, I was living in Camden, about 23. I was living in Camden, and I was at home one day, and I'd recently discovered quiche. This is really, I had a quiche the night before, and for some reason I just had never had a quiche before, and it blew my mind, and I was like, this is fucking amazing. Quiche is wonderful. So I went down to my local corner store, garage, Tesco's, going, oh, I'm going to get a quiche. I'm going to get a quiche Lorraine. I'm going to get, like, there's so many quiches I can get. This is exciting. And I was walking along, and there were 2 kids sitting up on a sort of the side of the path. There was a wall. And as I walked past, they chucked an apple at me or something, and it hit me on the back. And I turned around, and I looked at it, and I went, "Oh, dude," out loud, and then walked off. And then I was like, oh, stupid thing to say, "Oh, dude." And then the 2 guys ran in front of me, and they were much younger. They were like 17, and they stopped me, and they went, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. Did you just tell me to go fuck my mom?" And I went, no. I said, "Oh, dude." And he went, no, man. You told me to go fuck myself. And I was like, no, I didn't. And then his other friend ran up and he was like, "What's going on, man?" And I was like, I don't know. This is weird. And he went, "Don't try and run, man, or I'll hit you." And I went, "Okay." And then he hit me. Yeah, which I thought was really unfair because we were definitely on a same thing.
You were on the same page.
We're on the same. So what happened then was he clearly was waiting for me to make my next move because he'd hit me. You know, that's how it works. Hit me, and then I retaliate. But I didn't want to get in a fight. I was on the side of the road. I was older than them. I thought, am I going to be the one who gets in trouble here? So all I did was I looked at him and I went, "Look, man, I'm going to go buy a quiche." And I walked off. And the sentence was so, they were like, "What?" Like, it was so confusing. It was like a Jedi mind trick I pulled on them. I was saying, I could kill you right now, but instead, I'm going to go buy a quiche. I'm going to calm down, buy a quiche. And I swear to God, a few minutes later, I was standing, holding a quiche Lorraine in one hand and another quiche in the other hand, cheese and onion, I think. And the guys came in and apologized to me. They were like, "Sorry about that whole thing out there, man."
Well,
Yeah.
maybe they were just fans of fine quiche and other savory custards.
Maybe I said like the code word of their group.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, whoa, he's pulled quiche rank on us.
Maybe there's a hitman in the local gang called the Quiche or something like that, and no one's met him, and you just
no one knows him
for it. If you ever start shit with a guy, and he's like, he will stab your eyes out, and then he uses your eyes in a quiche.
Yeah. Or he's so hard he can beat you to death. He shows up to a knife fight with quiche slices. Yeah. So can we see the knife again? Can you show us?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the knife. This is also, I was thinking about it. Let's see if I got a good. Yeah, it's a knife. There we go.
Yeah.
I've also done, I'll do the as infomercial test. There we go.
Whoa!
It would do some damage to my back if ever. I hope that wasn't important paperwork. Yeah, it would do damage. But what a great way to get rid of a murder weapon is to go give it to some dude who's just walking down the street. You know, you're like, "Shit, I've just stabbed this guy. How am I going to get rid of this weapon? It's got my prints on it.
Yeah.
Let me just go embed it in this guy's back and make it. Oh wait, no, I got a better idea. I can profit off of this. Here, now his prints are gonna be. I can't get rid of this because my prints are all over this murder knife. That is now. I could go throw it in the taff. I don't know what to do.
I think that's so exciting. You've got a knife that almost stabbed you.
No,
£5.
I mean, and oddly enough, that is not the strangest thing that a person under an underpass has tried to sell me. I was under an underpass once, and a guy walked up to me and said, "I need some change for the bus." I said, "I'm sorry, man, I don't have any change." You know how it goes, give and take. You want some? I just have to go this far. No, I can't help you. And then he says, "Do you want some tilapia?" And opened up his jacket and had freezer bags full of tilapia.
What's tilapia? I don't know what tilapia is.
It's a white fish. It's a fish. Yeah, he clearly just stole some fish from the supermarket and was going to try to sell it to me. And it was, I mean, had it been maybe frozen, I would have considered buying it because I'll buy murder knives. But it was all thawed, and like all the tilapia juice had settled down in these freezer bags that this guy pulled out of his waistcoat. Yeah, I did not buy the tilapia.
That's incredible. So random. Amazing. All right, why don't we move on to your next item? Before we do, just for people who are joining us, let me reintroduce the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Show Us Your Shit. This is a nightly show where I talk to someone interesting and ask them to go through their house, pull off all the most interesting things that they own off their shelves, out of their cupboards, and show it to me and all of you here on Instagram Live. And tonight, we are talking to a very close friend of mine, and a father of two. Recently, the second one arrived only 10-ish days ago. He's tour manager for No Such Thing as a Fish, amongst other people, Camp Arthur Strong, and so on. It is Daniel Taylor. So, Daniel, what's our next item?
Next item. Well, let's dip into. Let me reach back over here. Now, I did threaten you with several bananas, frozen bananas during this lockdown. I turned to baking for my my health, and
Yeah.
I've stored a bunch of old bananas. These are not the bananas. This is just a side to a story that has nothing to do with bananas. I'm just telling you that I could have had bananas, but I didn't bring any because I
Oh,
am
okay.
not
So
going to die.
you've got a freezer full of bananas.
I've got a freezer full of bananas, and they're the perfect banana for banana bread baking because they're nice and overly ripe. And I didn't want to waste them on the show because I'm going to have bananas galore one of these days. So I was born on a Indian reservation, a First Nation reservation in Sackatoon, Arizona. I'm a ethnic mutt, as they say, but I do have a lot of Native American stuff just sitting around. This is an Edward and George original. See if you can see it. It's the Dancing Bears. It's a watercolor. It's a nice little.
Who's the artist? Sorry,
Cherokee artist.
Oh wow, cool.
And let me see what I might do. Sorry for suddenly switching things around here.
Yeah, no, flip it around and show us.
I've got a couple of. So if that messes with anyone's.
You might have to go the other way. Yeah.
This way or just go straight up?
No. If you just hold, yeah.
Okay. Sorry for anyone who has now vomited. I apologize for the sudden shift in.
So this is awesome. And is this an artist who is in the area of where you were born, or?
No, he's just a Native American artist. Edwin George. It was. He did a couple. Well, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the picture when it was done. 2001.
Is that signed by him, or is it?
Yeah, that's signed by him. There's the signature right there.
Someone who's watching knows him. Hannah is giving him hearts.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he's a brilliant artist. Yeah, it's a dancing bear right there. And then along that same vein, this is a little bit closer to the reservation I grew up on. Sorry, I apologize for going off screen. This is some of the Navajo stuff. I have a bunch of Navajo work. This was actually so this was originally a black and white picture that someone has hand oil painted, and then my mom found it and framed it. So this is all framing for my mom on burlap.
Oh, cool. That's beautiful. And so how long did you live there? Were you born and then you left immediately? Or?
I'm going to switch back to this view so that one doesn't see me, and I'll put this down so we don't do things. So I was born there. My mother is an emergency room physician, and my father is a biomedical engineer with degrees in, what's he have? He's got like 2 PhDs. He's a smart dude. He's got a degree in biomedical engineering and electrical engineering. And my mom is an emergency room physician. I was born on the reservation, not because of a tie to that particular tribe, but because they're kind of hippies, and they wanted to go and teach medicine and do some locum tenens work and things like that in a third world country in the States. So went to the Indian reservation. I grew up there. My original babysitters were all natives. Native doctors. Like I was raised by a Kiowa man and woman. My mom was out doing her work, and my dad was off doing whatever he does. They raised, I was kind of sent to these Kiowas, so I was raised by the Kiowas. I consider myself culturally Anishinaabe, which is Ojibwe. And I've done a lot of things there. I
don't know any of the words that you just said in terms of like what that means. So
different tribes.
Tribes, right?
I was born on a Pima reservation, Pima or the Ohodam, and then the Pima reservation. A Kiowa is another native tribe, Kiowa, and they're from more like Oklahoma area. But the Kiowa, Ralph was the family that really raised me and babysat me. They were doctors also, but so he was a 100% native doctor that I would go and babysit with or be babysat by. And even in my own life, like with my kids, I swaddle, and I do like a traditional swaddling, and a lot of I put my son to sleep every night with singing native songs, stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, how old were you when you left?
So I was probably 4 when I left, but I have gone back several times,
Right.
and then I've done a lot of stuff with the Anishinaabe, which are the Ojibwe, another tribe. I've probably spent 15 years with them.
Wow. Can you give us just as a small hum what a bedtime song would be?
All right. Is a bit of one.
Yeah, not is that are you deliberately doing a back of throat thing there to get
Yeah,
the
yeah.
tone of it?
It's
Right.
vocable, so it's a technique for how it would be sung. Yeah.
What's the technique called? Because
That was just that. So I was singing vocables. That wasn't words.
yeah,
That was just how you would sing that particular song.
yeah. But is that a vocal style to go
Yeah, yeah,
in that back of throat kind
yeah,
of?
yeah. I mean,
Right.
you could
Wow.
hear so it depends on where you're from. So like the Sioux have a tendency to sing more kind of up front and more almost nasally. Um, I mean, that's a very poor example of it, but that's kind
But
of
that kind of thing, yeah.
that they would sing. And then some of the Ojibways, are like they call the bullfrog singers because they sing more back of the throat.
Yeah, nice. I love it when there's a entire vocal tradition that sits with certain groups. Like one thing that always, when I was younger, I really enjoyed. I used to go to my friends' Shabbats
Oh, cool.
because they accidentally thought I was Jewish, and I didn't realize that that's what they thought. So I'd be there, and I would sort of be outed during the meal when I didn't have a synagogue that I went to. Yeah, I'd be like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not actually Jewish. But I used to love going to them because the food and the wine, the beautiful wine that was served, but the prayer bit when they're reading out the prayers, there's a hum of a song that sits underneath it, which is a sort of there's this little oscillating thing as the words are being read. It always stuck in my head as just such a beautiful type of singing, the sort of the poetry singing, but it had a bounce. It wasn't a song, but it was a song the whole way through. It was just so good when you can hear like that back of style, or the what are the monks with the
So that's a tube and throat singing. See if we can get. Now, see, I saw Ash popping around there, and Ash Gardner might get that, but it's a tonal singing, so you can hear like an overtone. So you have, you can hear. I don't know how well it transmits over.
It was pretty good. So explain it and do it again. I think that was pretty good.
So you have it's overtone singing. So you have different. You have like almost like a bagpipe drone, and then you have other tones on top of it.
Oh, right.
So if you can hear. You can hear that higher. You can hear the lower note.
Yeah.
Maybe you can hear that higher. And then I think in tube and throat singing there are 3 distinct versions, which I can't remember what they are. But there's like something called the lion's roar, which is more like the. I don't do that one very well. The only one I can do, I forget what it's called, is that the front one.
Yeah. Wow. So how many songs do you know to sing Blevin to sleep with?
It's hard to say because again, I've done. It's been such a big part of me. Like hundreds, but I don't know. So there's 4 that I use that I put him to sleep with.
Right.
It sounds like I'm putting him down for permanent, but no, I will. There's a set of 4 so it's usually like read a story and then cuddle a bit, and then I sing these 4 songs, and by the 4th song he's out. Which this program has thrown a complete wrench in the actual timings.
Sorry, man.
On me, but 5 minutes before the call started.
I know. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much again for doing this. You're such a hero. A lot of people saying in the messages that their dogs are spellbound right now, listening to that in the background.
Yes, that's my talent. You should meet my dogs. They're very, very obedient.
It's just like collapse into relaxation
Yeah,
as
yeah,
you
yeah.
Gregorian chanting them down.
Hopefully, I don't hit the brown frequency at some point. There.
Was that a real thing? Was that a myth, the brown
I think it
frequency?
is a myth. There are people that swear by it, but and I have exposed myself to a huge amount of sound in my life, and I have never unnecessarily shat myself. There have been times when I have necessarily shat myself, but not unnecessarily.
Yeah.
You know, not from sound waves.
I'm pretty sure on tour you always said something like you always had an extra pair of underpants on you just in case you shat yourself on a day.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be embarrassing. If you go to work and you don't have your extra, I just shat myself pants, you just got to wear them, or you got to have them. I don't expect to shit myself regularly, but you might. And, you can't just say, I'm going to be gone for a week. That's 5 pairs of pants. Because what if you shit yourself? What happens if you're in the middle of a job? If I'm setting up and oh my God, I should not have eaten that Stromboli. And then it comes out and you shit yourself. The show still goes up at 8. You're either sitting in dirty pants or you're sitting in clean pants. I'm voting for clean pants.
It's good. It's a good philosophy. We should, all of us on Fish should be doing that.
Yeah.
Why don't we get actually, let's see the paintings a bit more now that we've got context of them, because we didn't quite.
Let me switch back to this here view. So this is the Edmund George, which is the first one.
So how popular is this? There's a few people have heard of him, but I hadn't. Is he a well-known artist globally?
He's a well-known artist. He did like a mural in DC, very similar work. I think he painted something in Cleveland. He's not super popular, but people who know art and Americana art would probably know him.
Okay, cool. And then the other one you said was originally black and white, but
it was originally black and white, and then so I don't know the true history on it. It's from late 1800s, and then someone oil painted it, and then my mom found it and framed it.
It's really cool. And how do you know that that's from the area that you are? Is it something in the clothing?
Again, that's just a lot of the blankets, and actually there's another one downstairs which I can't go grab right now. I mean, some of the choker pieces look more plains than what I was doing, or from where I'm from. But I really don't know. It's just what I've been told. So I could be terribly wrong. There's probably somebody out there that could identify that and identify the couple, and it might be an extremely famous picture or something that I'm just destroying by showing on film here. I don't know. It's just something I've had. I've always liked it. You can see. Oh wow! I wanted to see what my mom used, and clearly she was using some Johnson & Johnson back in the 70s. Got this on some sort of what the hell is that?
Laparotomy pack.
Laparotomy pack.
I don't know, but I have a feeling if someone Googles it, we're going to learn a lot about you, Daniel, as a child.
Yeah.
That might be something.
I don't know.
That's a big reveal there.
Yeah.
Oh, Teeks is here. Awesome. Teeks is a good friend who's a musician, producer.
Cool.
He would have loved your tones if he was hanging in here at that point. Why don't we get another item from you, dude? So let me quickly reintroduce the show. For anyone who's just joining, welcome to Show Us Your Shit. This is a show where every night I speak to someone interesting around the world and ask them to go through their house, find the most interesting stuff that they have, and show it to all of us here on Instagram Live. And tonight we are talking to a very good friend and the tour manager for No Such Thing as a Fish, Daniel Taylor. So we've already seen, just as a recap, if you've missed the show, a knife that Daniel owns that someone tried to mug him using, but he ended up buying off him for £5 in a exchange that is beyond bizarre. We've seen some beautiful paintings, and we didn't see some bananas. So
we talked about them.
We talked about them though, and we've heard some great throat singing. Okay, what's your next item?
All right, next item. As I said, my father was a biomedical engineer and an electrical engineer. And though I was born and raised on an Indian reservation and spent most of my time jumping and running through puddles and learning how to build fires and stuff like that, I also went to space camp. And this is my space camp suit from when I was at space camp, and I think probably 85, something like that, or 87. I don't know. I'll see if it has a date on it. But yeah, you can see I've got my my patch right here, my pilot's patch.
Can you lift that up a bit?
That says my name.
Oh, cool.
On it. I've got the Space Center flags. I've got U.S. patches, and I was much smaller when I actually wore this. As you can see, this is.
You might have to step back a bit.
A bit too small for me. All right, let me. So that, yeah.
Nice. How old were you then?
I think I was in 6th grade, so year 6 or something.
10? 10 years old, something like that? 12? 10, 11?
Yeah, somewhere around in there. Yeah, I'd say 10 or 11, something like that.
Right. And so where was this? Where was Space Camp?
Mobile, Alabama.
Okay.
So NASA has so there are 2 space camps in the U.S., I believe. Again, this is facts from like the mid 80s, so I'm not sure if that's changed. There was one in Houston, Texas, and one in Mobile, Alabama. And I was at the Mobile, Alabama one.
And what did you have to do there?
Well, got to eat some space food. We did some science experiments. We did like zero G training. We got to jump in a pool in spacesuits. We had like you're walking on the moon sort of.
So what, you actually got to wear proper spacesuits?
Yeah, spacesuits and jump in a pool. So they have Space Camp, which is for the younger kids, and then they have Space Academy, which was for the older kids.
Right.
And I was at the younger kids Space Camp one. And yeah, it was hell. As I said, I think it was 85 or something. So it was quite a while ago in my, maybe 87. Whenever the Space Camp movie came out, I think it was right before then.
Okay. You're the second guest who's been on Show Us Your Shit who went to Space Camp in America. Yeah, a buddy called Ken Plume, and he saw, it was Reagan, I think. Someone can correct me in the comments, who came and delivered a speech to them all.
So it's probably he was at the Houston one. So he was at the Houston Space Camp. Because Reagan does a bunch of stuff there, or had a bunch of stuff there, I think.
Right. Okay.
But that's all in line with what should have happened or could have happened.
So is that spacesuit that you have? The sort of the Space Camp suit. Is that official NASA, or did you get that sort of in a shop and you were the cool kid wearing a spacesuit at Space Camp?
They say that it was I think. I mean, I don't know. It's a flight suit. I don't know what it wasn't like I didn't get it at the gift shop. Right? It came with like going to space camp, but I don't know. I mean, it's got patches are all sewn on, Velcro on things that should be Velcroed. I mean, it's a regulation-esque flight suit.
Yeah, let's see. Give us a bit more of a show of the detail of it.
Right. So we've got a space shuttle patch there. Plenty of things. As I said, these are all sewn on. It's got zippers, Velcro, little pockets for stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea how official it is, but it's
well, it's pretty official if you got it at Space Camp.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's branded as Space Camp in the label, so
yeah,
that's definitely says Space Camp stuff there. Space Gear is the actual title. I'm trying to see if there's a date or anything on this.
So were you ever into, because you went down quite a different road career-wise, was science on the cards ever for you, given your dad's career in Space Camp?
My original study was I had a scholarship to play lacrosse and to study physics. And initially
lacrosse and physics. I
had a kind of a solid individual, so I got money for hitting people with a stick, and I got money for learning and practicing my friction coefficients. I discovered that I don't like either of those really at all. I could not imagine anything more terrifying than just sitting around and calculating friction coefficients for the rest of my life.
Right.
So I was, I think, 18 at a fairly decent school, and said, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to smoke a lot of weed and I'm going to go in the mountains. So I headed to Colorado and smoked a lot of weed and went up in the mountains. And then
What did you do in the mountains? What does that mean?
I did some skiing, ate some mushrooms. You know, it's
But like
all
you were
sorts
living
of
in
stuff.
where were you living? In a hut or?
Some people's couches, a hut. I think I may have still been at school, so I had a dorm room. So I may have been living there. I mean, there was a good section of time that I don't remember so good.
Right.
And it was in that that period I started playing music and so I started. So I was probably 18, 19 mid 90s. I stopped my career path of being smart and then I went to the career path of smoking a lot of weed and my skill of drinking a lot and not vomiting was some of the other skill set that I had and then kind of a divergence in what I was going to be. My parents, the emergency room physician and the biomedical engineer, were a little bit, shall we say, disappointed that their firstborn son, their star child, decided to be in the arts field. And they weren't so happy. So I moved from Colorado back to Ohio. I was living in Ohio, or my parents lived in Ohio at the time. And then from there, I started acting. So I did a bunch of acting, and I'm a SAG-AFTRA voiceover artist, which is
You're what?
SAG-AFTRA, which is the Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television or American, what's the union, the voice union, for the states. So the reason my name is D.H. Cahill and not my actual name is that my union name has to be different because Daniel Taylor was taken and D.H. Taylor was taken and all this stuff was taken. So in the States, I'm a member of the Actors Union because of my voice work. And I have to trade under the name D.H. Cahill. Though I have not paid my union dues in 7 years since I've been here. And,
what kind of voiceovers would you
I
do?
talk about toothpaste, anything in the commercial realm.
Can you give us a burst of the kind of voice you would do for a toothpaste?
Well, see, character stuff. Oh, I did something for the BBC not too long ago. I forgot. I did a BBC Wales radio. I did a voiceover thing. I just remember that the first time in years I've done any voiceover. So voiceover. Let's see. Sitting alone in his apartment, you would find that he would have some things to show. Shit, that would be something like that. I don't know.
Can you do you could presumably do the movie trailer guy voice?
Yeah, I could do that. Trying to think what to say.
In a world,
far apart worlds came together, not once but twice. They missed. Who knows? Yeah. But so more often than that, I would just read stuff like, today, have you experienced healthier teeth? And which is the freakiest experience is when you hear your own voice wake you up. Because I had a radio alarm clock, and sometimes my own voice would wake me up because it would be on a radio show, and it would be like down at the Lotto Express, and I would go, "Oh my God!" Because I would wake up to myself talking to myself about buying lottery tickets. Oh God, I can't believe that just happened.
So good. So your mum. So I keep mishearing what you say that she did. She was an
A&E doctor.
An A&E doctor,
yeah,
right?
So emergency room physician or an A&E doctor.
Yeah, okay. And your dad worked for a university as a scientist, or?
Yeah, he's the first African American to graduate from Baylor with a degree in engineering.
Right.
He worked on like the Jarvik 7, which was the first artificial heart. He's a weird dude in that he's super smart, and I think that as he's gotten older, he doesn't know what to do with his super smartness. So every time I go visit him, he's got a project like he's got he calculated the flow or where I forget what it's called, a multi-jointed pendulum So if you have a pendulum, it doesn't just quite tick. You can have a pendulum with 2 points in it, so the pendulum will swing and causes what appears to be a chaotic. You can't predict where it'll end up, but he wanted to predict it, so he just would have this look at this multiple axis pendulum, and he built this thing, and then went to calculate if you could predict where it would end up pointing. It was so intriguing, but I don't know what part I'm supposed to look at. It'd be like, oh, that's cool, Dad. What am I looking at? It's just so complex, and I don't know what he was, doing. He looks like he's schizophrenic, but he's, it's right on there with science stuff. He had.
And what was you mentioned you said Jarvis 7?
The Jarvis 7, which was the first artificial heart. So he was on the team that worked with the first artificial heart.
Wow.
And he's done some cool stuff. He worked on that. He was in like a couple of lawsuits. He was an expert witness for a couple of lawsuits where people were and they would use his professional testimony to say, well, that can't happen. You can't have a blood clot travel up an artery and into the heart. That simply is not possible.
Right.
Very cool stuff. 3D printing. He was the first guy I really knew that was into 3D printing. Has hundreds of them scattered around his house. He lives on, he's still in the States and lives on a good bit of property. And there's just like store shed that he started building his Bitcoin miners, and he went from Bitcoin mining to some other thing. And you just walk in there and you're at a mess. I sent you that picture a while ago of something.
Yeah.
I forget what it was. It was just a thing that he was working on.
Yeah, it looked mad. It looked properly mad. Very, very cool. Well, I know, because this has been I asked you half an hour before we started for some items. So I know you've got one more item to show us.
Yeah.
So let's do your final item. So, and it's to do with your dad.
Yeah. Well, as I said, my dad is a scientist, and aside from I'll just flip this around. In the last solar eclipse, he had, so this is an original, he did a series of artwork with taking pictures of the solar eclipse. So you can see the transgression of the moon across the sun.
It's beautiful.
He does really good work. He has...
this is amazing.
Yeah, it's a really cool piece.
Has it's signed at the bottom there?
Yeah, that's let me flip that around. Yeah.
So is that a piece that he sells commercially, or?
He certainly would. He's not really, doesn't market his stuff. He just does a lot of pictures. He was very happy with it.
And what's it printed on? It's like a gloss.
Oh yeah, it's a glaze. I'll sneak around here. He did some nice mounting. It's actually metal. So it's on like an aluminum. I don't know what he did, but he printed it on an aluminum piece.
Can you step back and give us the full view? It's really beautiful. That is extraordinary. Where was the solar eclipse that he took those photos?
He took them in Asheville, North Carolina. He took a big trip to go down to get the pictures. So he set up, so it would have been 2017. Yeah, I think he took them. He's got his telescope out. So he built a motor which follows the, he wants to do long exposure pictures. So he built a motor so his telescope can follow a fixed item. And he will keep an exposure up for about 30 minutes, a single exposure, and the telescope will continue to track. And then he'll take over a 9-hour period. What would that be? 9-hour period. So 18 exposures, 18 pictures over a 9-hour period, or he'll do 100 pictures at 2-minute exposure rates. And then he'll layer those images on top of each other so that you get a more direct, a better picture, a better image. Reason you're talking about that, I'm just going to log on here and see if I can find some of his other work.
That's so cool, man. What a beautiful piece in the house. And so he's in America now, right?
He is in America, yeah. Yeah, he is. What has he got here? So he's got.
Is this
some
his
really,
website you're looking at, or is
yeah,
this?
this is just Facebook. It's not a.
Oh, he
not
doesn't have like a site.
Yeah, this isn't his site. I can't spin it sideways. Oops, what am I doing?
Does he have a site or not? Whoa!
So this is one of his the Pinwheel Galaxy.
Can you hold the camera up a tiny bit? Sort of up. Yeah. Nice. Wow. Ooh, what's that?
That is the Owl Nebula.
Oh, that was your cursor going over that. I thought it was a video, and I was like, "Well, UFO," but no. Okay, cursor.
Now I have to be cautious with this because my father discovered a few years ago that he also really likes to take pictures of naked ladies. And he will occasionally post those. He's a great. He does great pictures, and he's decided that he will sell artistic nudes. But they're more glamour shots than artistic nudes. So you have a scientist that and occasionally for flipping through his pictures, you'll get to the titty shots. And
When did that start?
right around the time of my parents' divorce.
Oh my God! Oh man!
So it was right when I moved here. So that would be 2013. That he says I always like pictures of photography, and he does have some gorgeous landscapes, and he just absolutely loves those pictures. He also says I always like titties, so he's combined his two loves, which is a retired man taking pictures of some titties and in nature. So he does some in nature titties. There was one picture he flew a model in to go take some pictures, and then she stayed at his house, and he had posted a bunch of pictures of this really gorgeous naked lady in different poses, and she was sat, and like I fucking tiled that. It was in his house, and there was like a tile bench that I made, and this naked lady named Jen, Gin and Tonic, just giving her.
Her name was Jen
on my tile.
Her name's Jin.
Yeah, I don't think it's her real name. It was Gin and Tonic. It was her name. She might have another career doing something else. I'm not sure what it would be. I don't want to point fingers or cast aspersions.
Wow, what a career shift!
Yeah.
What a...
But he does sell the artistic nudes. If anyone is interested in buying,
does he? Right. So he does. Wow. Okay. What's his website? We can all check it out.
You like titties from an old man, an old scientist. He will give you. He's got some other shots too. It's not just titties. He's got some ass. There is some vagine pictured in a few of them, if you would like.
Oh man, that is so amazing. Didn't expect that. Wow, cool, man. That's sounds amazing. And I can't get the moon shot. I just have to go boobs. That's the only thing I can get.
Tits or nothing. Tits or go home.
Okay, tits or go home. It's great title for a website. If he's not bought that domain name.
Yeah.
Tits or go home.
I'll tell him when the interest starts peaking, because I've told him this is a great shot. I'm referencing this thing behind me that you probably can't see that I'm referencing.
No, we know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, that picture, it's a really good picture. He's got some very good pictures. Sell those, not the titties. I don't know. He's got preference.
That's incredible. Cool. Hey, listen, I know what it's like in the early days of new dadness. I'm 4 weeks into my second new dadness, but yeah, so I really appreciate that you've done this with us tonight, and at such short notice. And please send my love to the family. And what's the name of the new one?
Beatrice.
Say it again.
Beatrice. And
that's a Welsh name, right?
Yeah, it's the Welsh form of Beatrix.
Ah, Beatrice. Say it again.
Beatrice.
I can't pronounce names, so you've got. I've only mastered Blethen recently.
Yeah. Well, you're doing well. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So we'll wrap up in a second. I'll let you get back to your babies. But before we do, at the beginning, I said to you this show is called "Show Us Your Shit" (brackets) or some Shakespeare, a pair of pajamas, and a mutton chop. So the reason for the extension of the title there is because during World War II, P.G. Wodehouse was living in France. And he and his wife were in the house one day when they suddenly noticed there was a Nazi outside coming towards the house to arrest them. They had 10 minutes, they reckoned, to get out of the house. So his wife said to him, you've got 10 minutes to grab the most important things in the house before we get out of here. Having spent 10 minutes looking around the house, the only things he left with was some Shakespeare, a pair of pajamas, and a mutton chop. So my question to you is, I'm going to give you those 3 items. You have to flee your house as well. So you get those 3, but you can take one thing as well. Only one other thing. What would you take?
Of the things that you just listed, or just anything?
Could be anything in the house.
I'm taking my children.
No, they're coming. Humans are coming. Humans and pets
humans are coming, so I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
The
and no
one
passport.
thing-
Don't give me passport shit. I need something different.
I'm going to take the murder knife, because that's going to be useful if I have to. It depends on the reason. Did someone light my house on fire? Why am I fleeing?
The Nazis are descending on you, mate.
The Nazis. I'm definitely taking the murder knife, because that's gonna. I don't have any guns here, so I'm taking the knife with me. Taking the murder.
Very cool. Lovely answer. Daniel, thank you so much for doing this, man. And I can't wait to see you again on the next fish tour, whenever that happens, if that ever happens in this new lockdown world. Everyone else, thank you so much for joining us. And Daniel's on Instagram, so do follow him. Follow his account. I don't know how often you use it, but you should use it more and post
a
up
lot
your
of pictures of food.
Cool.
What my dad likes about titties, I like about my barbecue. So
you like ribs.
Yeah, I like some rib. So I got pictures of food up there.
Yeah, Ribs Will Go Home is the name of his Instagram account.
Yeah.
No, it's you can see it in the top corner probably. If you click on that, find Daniel. And anything else you want to say before we wrap up, Daniel?
Stay home, stay safe.
Good message. Yeah. And we'll be back tomorrow night with another episode of Show Us Your Shit with another guest showing us their shit. Same shit time, same shit channel. Said shit a lot then, but yeah, it's a good word. So have a good night, everyone, and I'll see you then tomorrow night, 9:30, here on the at Tribaland page. All right, guys, lots of love. See you later, Daniel. I love you, man. Send my love to the family.
Will do.
See you soon.